If you're stuck at 90 exit velocity and you're trying to make that jump to 100 plus, I'm gonna break down exactly how you can do so in this video. I'm Nate Kelly, I'm the founder and creator of the Close the Gap protocol, and I'm a college strength and conditioning coach. I've helped dozens of athletes gain 10 plus EV, and I've also helped many crush the enormous 100 EV threshold. I got a couple of different categories we're gonna look at today, and we're gonna compare what they look like at 90 EV to 100 EV. And you most likely sit right here for all these categories. So let's dive into it. The first thing we're gonna look at is physicality. Physicality is gonna be your number one factor when it comes to your exit velocity, meaning how big you are, how fast you are, and how strong you are. Guys at 90 EV most likely have 1 to 2 limiters in that factor, meaning they're just not quite big enough, fast enough, or strong enough. I'll throw in my own personal example here. So I was a 95 EV guy. I was really close to that 100-mile-an-hour mark, but I ran a 7.160. So that 60 time showed something within my physicality. I just wasn't fast enough or quick twitch enough. My ground contact time was terrible. My rate of force development was also not good. Now, if I was able to run a 6.860, then you could also expect that EV to go up as well. Because as a physical being, my physicality was lacking within my rate of force development and my force transferability. So if you're at 90 EV, you probably have one of those limiters. You're just not big enough, you're not strong enough, you're not quick enough. So if I were you, what I would look at is your height and weight, your 60 time, and your 1 rep max outs. Specifically, your trap bar deadlift here. So if any of these are lacking or are limiting your physicality, then that is a big reason as to why you're actually stuck at the 90 EV mark, or even below. So the 100 EV guys, obviously they have 0 limiters. They are big enough, they are fast enough, and they are strong enough. Now keep in mind, when I say big, I don't mean you have to be 6'2". I just mean your body weight needs to be in proportion with your actual height. And within that, your body composition has to be set at a standard. But these guys typically run a 60 time under 7 seconds. And if they don't, then it's probably compensated by something in their bigger, faster, stronger framework. So like Prince Fielder obviously could not run a sub 7 second 60. But Prince Fielder was insanely strong and he was massive. So he had his height and weight and his 1 rep max outs like to that standard where it was able to kind of tackle that speed deficient factor for him. But for a well-rounded, more diverse athlete, you gotta make sure that we're hitting these 3 bigger, faster, stronger factors. Where I would challenge you, if you're stuck at 90 EV right now, take a look at which one of these is most deficient for you, because that actually affects your EV way more than you think. So to get to 90 EV, obviously, that's still decent. You gotta be training pretty hard. And you gotta be a pretty well-rounded and gifted athlete at that point. But most likely, or what most cases do when they're stuck at this 90 EV mark, is their training is extremely outdated. Do they not work hard? No, they just don't do the right things in 2026. Times have changed, training modalities have only gotten better, and most of these guys are just stuck in the past. And it's so unfortunate because it is a choice, but they have to be equipped with the knowledge to know that what they're doing is just outdated, man. So what do I really mean by that? Most of these guys will go to hitting lessons once a week, thinking that the work that they put in there is automatically going to increase that EV number. And there are a couple big problems with this. Number one, 95% of those in-person lessons don't touch on any of the physical needs to increase that EV mark. So none of them touch the rate of force development, the rotational transferability, the CNS work, and the raw force output. None of those things are touched within your 1 hour a week hitting session. And even if they are, okay, so let's say you have a hitting coach who's also a certified strength conditioning coach somehow, and you go there once a week, that's still not enough stimulus for you to increase your EV. So you can do all the right things, but only once a week is a huge problem. This has to be a daily repetition. So once a week lessons, they're just not it, dude. You can't spin it any type of way to convince me. This is extremely outdated. 10 years ago, sure, I guess. But at this point in 2026, there are guys that are just towering over you because they don't do the same shit that their parents did when they played. So your hitting coach, he's not gonna get you to 100, man, I'm sorry. Next is they typically do bodybuilding workouts with some athletic movements. And this is the really big trap they get into because they see themselves doing this some athletic movements and think, damn, I'm really moving the needle with my EV and my physicality. But again, there's a couple negatives and downfalls that comes with this. Number one, there's no structured system. Sure, man, you can go to the gym, you can do some med ball work, some plyometrics, but you still don't have a system. You still don't have something that's dynamic and adapts over time, with newer and newer stimulus to make sure that you and your body adapts. If you do the same shit over and over and over, you'll get really good at the same shit, but you'll never actually cross that barrier or plateau to get you better at the next thing. So you have to be on a structured program that does this for you over time. This can look like progressing certain exercises to a more difficult and dynamic manner. This can be phasic training done differently throughout the year based upon your schedule, fatigue, and goals. And that volume has to increase over time as well. And you have to be thrown new methods and modalities at least monthly. So when these guys go and they do their bodybuilding stuff most of the time in the gym, they do their bro split, and then some athletic movements on top of that just week by week, every single day, but they don't have any structure or progressions for it, it feels like they're doing the right things, but it's just not there yet. And these guys, their training is on point. It is not outdated and they've gotten with the times. But here's the thing, nobody's born with the knowledge to just know what to do in the weight room, know how to structure yourself over time. So these guys went to guidance. They went to somebody who actually studied this shit for years. They understand and they've done it time and time again for other athletes in the same situation as them. It's really not that hard. They basically just took a shortcut here to get guidance to get to where they want to go so much quicker than this person. It makes a lot of sense when you put it that way. But these guys, they have structured and proven programming that adapts over time based on their goals. So they're getting thrown new and constant stimulus over time, so they have to adapt and overcome new challenges and barriers throughout their training. It's like a math class. You know when you start the year in your math class, it's like really easy, almost feels like review, like maybe something you even learned like a year or two ago. But then as you get into the middle point of the year, like your finals week, all that stuff, that shit is ramped up crazy. Now you're talking about trigonometry, you're talking about proofs and all that stuff. But at the beginning, you were just plotting line graphs. Well, imagine if you were just plotting line graphs the whole year. I mean, how much better at math would you really get? Like you get really fucking good at plotting line graphs, but in actual trigonometry in your math class, you're not gonna improve at all. That's because you don't have new and challenging stimulus over time. And what that new and challenging stimulus does is it makes you improve at the grand scheme of things. So now in the midpoint of the year, when you're doing trig and you're doing proof problems, you're getting pretty damn good at math. That's exactly how your physicality and your exit velocity journey should be looked at. Like you can't just be doing line graphs the whole time, dude. You gotta adapt and throw new stimulus on top of what you're already doing. And the thing is, you probably don't know how to do that, so you need guidance. But you need the right guidance. You don't need your in-person hitting coach who doesn't know how to do this either. So these guys have adapted to the times and they go to online training help because it is the most efficient way to do this. They're able to take what their online coach is telling them and go do it for themselves in their own gym. They don't have to go somewhere that's only once a week or somewhere where they just do generic group lessons and it's not specific for them at all. So they have an online coach and they have this accountability 24/7 and somebody they can talk to throughout their whole journey and somebody who's done it for 50 plus athletes and at the college level. Next is the mental game. And this does play a big factor within the EV journey because this is very results based. So these guys are gonna go up and down dependent on their results. Good one day, bad the next. Decent the third, good, bad. I mean, we can just go up and down this whole ladder. But they're very results dependent along this whole journey, which is just gonna destroy you, man. I mean, you know, you've played baseball, you've had the 0 for 4 games. You've had the 3 for 3 games. Now, look at these guys. It looks relatively similar. Now let's call this graph results because results do waver. There's no way you're gonna get away from results wavering. However, their actual mental game doesn't follow this path. It's actually very steady throughout the middle. Whereas these guys, they follow this to a T, right? But these guys can maintain that middle ground throughout the whole process. And this is actually what drives results. You can think about this in a super micro way. Simply, this guy who might be down 3 EV, as long as he stays consistent with his mental game, he's gonna approach the next day the exact same. He's not gonna be down, he's not gonna have no confidence, he's gonna be fired up and ready to train, which is going to lead to his better result here at the peak when he's up 8. But this guy who rides his results so bad, he's down 3 EV, he thinks he's worthless because of it and his training isn't working. Hell, he might skip the next day of training. He might skip the next 3 days of training. He might even give up on the whole process, therefore making everything pretty much pointless. So with that being said, the mental game, it's gotta be on locks, man. But this guy ultimately also gets help with this in his online training program. A mental performance coach that's by his side that he can text 24/7 along this whole journey, and somebody he can meet with on a consistent basis along this whole ride. Now let's talk about focus and priority a little bit, because this is a pretty interesting subject, I'm not gonna lie. Because I hear all the time, like, Nate, baseball isn't my life. It's not my number one priority, like I have other things going on. Yeah, absolutely, you are a human being, you're not a baseball player. However, you can still have a really high level of priority and focus while still keeping that as a fact. And these guys generally sit on a scale of 1 to 10, somewhere around the 7 mark. It's not bad, it's just not enough to really push that envelope to the elite level. But what does this really mean? It means that distractions largely are the reason as to why the gap between 10 and 7 exists. And I think we'll get into more of this with the habits section, but the distractions can really ruin progress. It's things like doom scrolling, comparisons with other people. I mean, I could really go on and on about what distractions really are and how it affects this person. But at the end of the day, his focus and priority is lacking just a little bit to get to that 100 EV mark. Now, this guy sits at a 9 or a 10 out of 10. And it's not that increasing his EV or his physicality is his life. He just understands what goes with it. So as long as he keeps his focus and priority of becoming the best ball player he can and the most physically capable person possible, he directly ties that and correlates to rewards, his dreams, and his ideal outcomes. Meaning, really simply in his head, he's saying, okay, if I can hit 100 EV, I can run a sub 7-second 60, I can go to college and play the game that I love, and take a massive burden off my parents' plate of paying for my college education. I can then fulfill what I actually want to do in this life and my dreams once I get to that place and potentially even play baseball further beyond that. That is so much more than what just 100 EV is. But he has to keep that vision alive because that is what automatically drives focus and priority. See, he understands that some of these habits and some of these distractions do not feed this version of himself that he wants to be so desperately. It's not about 100 EV, man. Believe me, it's not about that. It's about fulfilling what's actually in your soul and your heart in this life. And this is just a byproduct of that. So does he have 100% 10 out of 10 focus on just hitting 100 EV? Not exactly. More so his ideal self, his dreams, and the rewards he really wants to reap. And again, this is a byproduct. So you have to have that focus and intention. Next is guidance, and we touched upon this a little bit over here. But this guy, and I'm speaking from experience, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, he really doesn't have that expert guidance he needs. Maybe he has his dad, he has himself, of course, and then that old school hitting coach. Listen, we love our dads. Believe me, I love my dad. But typically, not every single situation, but typically, the dad's knowledge is gonna run out at a certain point. Yeah, he can help you with your swing when you're in T-ball, you're in middle school. But when you're really gunning for this elite level of physicality and the elite part of the game, dad's knowledge is gonna run out. And that goes for you too, man. You're in high school, bro. Now let me give you a little gut reality check. You don't know as much as a lot of people out there about how you can succeed. You haven't been on the earth a long enough time and you just don't have the education or knowledge. And you can't see what you can't see. Your old school hitting coach, again, once a week lessons, he can't help you with your physicality. Of course, that goes without saying. Now this guy looks for expert guidance. He looks for somebody with experience, with proof, and familiarity. This guy needs to have been doing this for a little bit of time. This guy that he's looking for has to have proof of concept. And he also has had to work with people that are similar to him and his situation. And he does this in an online format because he understands that the coach he's looking for in an online format can get way more touch points with him per day than any in-person coach. What do I mean by touch points? I mean literally just a conversation or an exchange of anything. With that 24/7 text communication, he can talk to his coach all day if he needs to, instead of having to wait until next Tuesday to see his one-on-one guy. The touch points are unmatched. He can just get coached more. But also it makes programming so much easier because this online coach can track everything within an app. He can give him everything he needs throughout the months of training, and he can consistently adapt and make it dynamic over time just based off simple communication. But he's got to know what the fuck he's doing. Finally is habits. Now, is this absolutely concrete for every single guy who hits 90 EV? Not really. I'm more so just speaking from experience here with things that I could have personally improved within my habits. But I know this does apply to many people who have the actual capability to get here, but they're stuck here. And one of those things is just kind of poor sleep. Not poor as in you're getting like 4 hours a night, but just inconsistent, not really a priority for you. And you're kind of sluggish and tired throughout the day. And on the weekends, you go to your buddy's house and you go to bed at like 3 a.m. That's what I'm talking about right there. Nutrition, not absolutely dreadful, but just something you don't track or take care of. Like you don't know really what kind of calories you're putting in your body. You don't know the macronutrients. You don't really have a structure around your diet or nutrition. Do you eat like Twinkies and fucking zebra cakes all day? Probably not. I mean, you hit 90 EV, you're a decent athlete, but you're just not at that elite level. You're not tracking your stuff. You're not eating the right things. And then finally, it's just like other shit, man. Like I know guys are in high school, they do stupid shit. They drink, they vape, they might do worse stuff for sure. That stuff is going to kill your physicality and it's not worth it at all, by the way. And it's not gonna get you to this elite level because you're competing with other people that understand that fact. If you do that kind of stuff, you do that shit, you drink, you vape, you do all that stupid stuff, you are literally starting one lap behind everyone else in the race who isn't doing that stuff. So cut it out, quit that shit. And then this guy, his habits are locked in. He sleeps well on a day-to-day basis. He's tracking his nutrition, tracking his calories, tracking his macros, and he has a certain body goal and he knows exactly what to do within that nutritional plan to hit them. And he's not doing this other dumb shit I already mentioned. So just a quick synopsis here, and let's do a quick rundown before I let you guys go. The physicality is a clear differentiator. There's no limiters with this guy. The training structure, this guy goes to an online training performance coach. He has guidance and it is on point. It is systemic and it develops over time for his goals. The mental game, this guy's locked in despite results being up and down. You're not gonna be able to get away from that, but what you can control is how you don't fluctuate with your mental game throughout that process. His focus and priority is a 10 out of 10 because he keeps that ideal self alive constantly. He understands this is a byproduct of becoming the person he wants to be. He has expert guidance that is proven and it has familiarity. Again, it's online for that pure touch point factor. He doesn't go to his dad, he doesn't use himself, and he doesn't go to his old school hitting coach to actually hit these goals. And his habits are locked in. He's got his sleep taken care of, his nutrition's dialed, and he doesn't do that dumb shit on the weekends, right? And this is pretty much the blueprint as to how you can hit 100 EV, really take control of your baseball career, and get those metrics that jump off the page for these college coaches. Get ahead of it now, dude, I'm telling you. You don't want to be in my shoes who's looking back with regret where he should have been here, but he was here. So do it fucking now. No excuses, man. Stand out and don't settle.